Can you resell hand sanitizer for a profit? I'm Garrett Weldon, and this is my channel. So let's dig in, because there is a wrong and a right way in order to resell hand sanitizer for a profit. And reselling hand sanitizer is something I did. So after going through the right and the wrong way to resell hand sanitizer, we'll get into actually the side hustle that my wife and I did and how we performed. Okay, the first thing to realize is that this falls into a category that is going to be bound by the price gouging laws of your particular state. This is informational only. I am not an attorney, nor do I have the qualifications to direct you in all things legal. So seek appropriate counsel if this is something you're looking to do, but you can find out information on your state, what the price gouging laws are. The idea behind this is when, because of a hurricane, a pandemic, or wildfire, you can't just go procure all the necessities that somebody might need and artificially inflate those prices, which says here, you cannot charge exorbitant prices for necessities. It's referred to as price gouging. In most states, price gouging during a time of emergency is considered a violation of unfair or deceptive trade practices law, and it has consequences. And it continues that for most states, if prices are 10 to 15% higher, then it may be determined that price gouging has occurred. So I'll put a link down below to this information, but again, this is information only and you need to do your own research. So when it gets to where I was dealing in this, it was in the state of Idaho and in the state of Utah. So this goes in again to the price gouging laws for these two states. So in the state of Idaho, yes, there's a $5,000 per violation fine. In Utah, you're going to see that it's a $10,000 per day and that there are thresholds in terms of what you can do from a margin standpoint when you're reselling it. The other thing is, since it was and is a pandemic, what happened is many of the frontline caregivers that needed hand sanitizer were running out of it. The supply chains were completely broken. And in fact, in the healthcare space that I work in, some of the local hospitals actually started running out of hand sanitizer and their normal mechanisms of procuring it were gone. So they actually had to start calling on local distilleries, and ask them if they would switch from making vodka or whatever they were producing to start producing hand sanitizer. And you might say, how is it that local distilleries could get the necessary approval to make hand sanitizer? That's this. So there was a policy, basically an FDA release that allowed temporary compounding of alcohol-based hand sanitizer products, which basically meant that distilleries as well as independent pharmacists could secure the necessary FDA approval, which was done very quickly, to start making hand sanitizer for their communities. So this is exactly what started happening. And what you started seeing was many hospitals, many clinics were in essence working with local distilleries to procure their now needed hand sanitizer. And the last thing to know that if you're going to do this is if you are working with a distillery, you'll need to ask for their safety data sheet, which basically outlines a couple things. One, that they have the FDA approval, and two, it just articulates how this hand sanitizer was made and the components within the hand sanitizer. So when you get back to this idea of what we're trying to do, many hospitals were now procuring their hand sanitizer through distilleries. But what I found is that smaller hospitals, rural hospitals, clinics, and even some nonprofit organizations, their supply channels were completely disrupted so that they were not able to procure hand sanitizer. So I asked, can you actually resell hand sanitizer for a profit? And the answer is yes. You just have to know what your target market is and how you're going to procure this hand sanitizer. This is how we did it. A distillery about 350 miles away completely shut down their production of vodka and started creating hand sanitizer. And I had some connections with them and understood what they were doing and recognized that there might be a need in my marketplace. I live 350 miles away for this product. So what I did is I spent a couple afternoons calling rural hospitals, health clinics, doctor's offices, airport, nonprofits, public sectors, to just better understand what their needs were from a hand sanitizer perspective and if they had any interest in procuring hand sanitizer. Now, you had to understand it was coming from a distillery. So these come in 5-gallon buckets. That's the normal delivery method. And we could bottle them down to the smallest of a 2-liter bottle. So this is bulk. This is not going to your Walmart and buying everything off the shelf, or going, as you'd hear some situations, of traveling 1,700 miles to buy all the hand sanitizer to sell what was used to be $1 for $79 on Amazon. That's not the strategy. I found that there were, in my couple afternoons of calling around, 10 organizations right here in my local community that needed hand sanitizer and that were willing to buy it. So I pre-sold it. I pre-sold over 200 gallons of hand sanitizer and then let them know that we were intending to go pick it up directly from the distillery and bring it down to their place of business. Since hand sanitizer is flammable, it's considered a hazardous material if you're just going to ship it in normal methods of shipping. So I found it vital to go procure it and get it myself and make the deliveries myself. So we rented a big van, pulled out all the passenger seats, drove 350 miles to the local distillery to pick up the hand sanitizer. And when you get to it, this is what the back of the van looked like. So there's actually 34 of these 5-gallon buckets. And then you'll see back here, there's 73 of the 2-liter bottles. And this entire van load was 100% pre-sold. What are the numbers? What are the numbers when you're going to resell hand sanitizer in bulk like this? So let's walk through what my actual expenses were. So the biggest expense was $10,690, and that was actually to procure the hand sanitizer. That was the cost of the product. And again, I had pre-sold all of this, meaning I had already submitted invoices and was receiving payment for the product before delivery of the product. So that $10,690, when it was invoiced to me, had a 30-day payable. So I paid it 100% with pre-sold product right from what I delivered to my now customers. I'd come down $173.63. That was the price to rent the van. $109.42, that was gas. $92.29, that was food for my wife and I, as we had to travel a total of 750 miles to pick up and deliver this different hand sanitizer. $32.05, the 2-liter bottles, we bought bins from Walmart so that we could deliver them in a nicer packaging. And then $152.87, I submitted my invoices to these different customers via PayPal, and many of them, well, a few of them chose to pay via PayPal. So this was the PayPal portion that PayPal received. And so all in all, had $11,250.26 in expenses. So what was the revenue? You'll know that there was 10 different customers that I had, each of them buying a different amount of hand sanitizer, with the smallest being $360 to the largest being $3,475, with the total gross revenue of $15,074. So let's put the expenses and the revenue side by side. $11,250.26 in expenses, $15,074 in revenue, for a total profit of $3,823.74. So let's actually analyze this, because whenever you do a side hustle, there's always really 3 ways you need to analyze it. What's the margin of the opportunity? What's the market? And what's the multiple opportunity? So let's get into each. The margin, again, it could not be because of the law of the mandate. We could not engage in any type of price gouging. So the margins on this, I knew right from the beginning, were not going to be great. And that's fine, because when you're analyzing a side hustle, margin, market, and multiples, you need 2 of the 3. You don't have to have all 3. So let's look at the margin. The purchase price, $250. This is not including shipping and handling. It makes the analysis easier. Sell price, $325. And this was for a 5-gallon bucket. So the margin per gallon, again, $15. If you take that down to an actual margin per ounce, 11.7 cents. So if you take a look at it, those couple ounce bottles that you might get at your local grocery store, it's as if the margin on that is 11.7 cents per ounce. The margin play on this is very low. There is not a strong margin in it because of the price gouging laws. So let's look at the other two, the market and the multiples. So the market, there was an urgent need since supply chains were broken, and I actually confirmed that by making pre-sales. Now I think, and it's possible that this could still be happening in some areas in your local area, or it could happen again. So it's good to know, to take the time and just know, put a few phone calls into your distilleries. Ask them, did they make hand sanitizer? Are they still making hand sanitizer? Who they were delivering it to? So you can get a sense of how your market responded when there was an urgent need for hand sanitizer. And then multiples. So this was really important since it was such a low margin play for each gallon, for each ounce sold. I quickly got away from only selling 1 5-gallon at a time. In fact, as you saw on my revenues, that only happened once. Every other time, there was at least multiple 5-gallon buckets sold. And in the two situations that we did sell 2-liter bottles, one was 50 2-liter bottles, and the other was 23 2-liter bottles. So multiples is one of the quickest ways to make up for, we'll say, a lack of margin. Because then with one delivery, all of a sudden, instead of delivering one product, you're delivering 10. And this is a great example. So this was a rural hospital that was, again, unable to procure hand sanitizer because of their broken supply chain. And we were able to deliver, count this, there's 4 on top in that row, 4 on bottom, and 2, so 10. So in one delivery, a $750 margin. And so whenever you're analyzing, again, side hustles, you really need to take into consideration the margin, the market, and the multiples, and at least have 2 of those 3. I go back to say, can you resell hand sanitizer? Yes, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. If this type of information is helpful for you, consider subscribing below. Smash the like button, leave some questions, some comments. How do you analyze side hustles? And what do you think about reselling hand sanitizer?